Are you guys still there? Probably not. That's okay. We'll keep going. Oh, we got a few stragglers from the J section. That's alright. Jennifer's Body, I think this is like a German steel or metal pack of it. Love this movie. It's another Diablo Cody script. Megan Fox does a great job in this, as does Amanda Seyfried. So glad that this film is getting the recognition it deserves now. I liked it at the time, but it's kind of becoming a cult classic now. But I thought it was great at the time and today. Jerry Bruckheimer set here with The Rock, Armageddon, Con Air, Enemy of the State, Crimson Tide, Deja Vu, Gone in 60 Seconds, and Pearl Harbor. A UK set. The only one that's not region free is Deja Vu. That one's a region B only, but great set of these, like 90s, 2000s action films, excuse me. Alright, back on track with the case. Kill the Irishman, which I've heard great things about. Still haven't watched it yet, but I got it for cheap. We got Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Great clown film with an amazing slipcover here from Arrow. I know all the Chiodo brothers. They're great guys. Great film. Just great, great, great. And then we got the Stanley Kubrick film The Killing, my favorite Criterion cover here. Great, fantastic crime film. Highly recommend it, from 1956. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't. Killing Season and Red Lights, two later period Robert De Niro films. Got King Arthur, that 2004 version, which I've still not watched yet, but I've always wanted to see it ever since it came out. Krampus, which is a good Christmas-themed horror film. I would have liked it if this had been more serious and a hard R instead of a PG-13. But for a PG-13, it's actually pretty scary. We'll give them that. I just would have liked it if it hadn't been like trying to be like Gremlins. Kung Fu Killer. Still need to watch this. Trying to get more martial arts films in the collection. Labyrinth in 4K. Oh, what a great film. Rest in peace, David Bowie and Jim Henson. What more can I say about this puppet masterpiece? Absolutely love it. Great fantasy film. Just great music. Everything. You get to see David Bowie's massive bulge in 4K, which there's a funny story about that. Apparently, there was I guess they were testing out like cod pieces or something, and they didn't really realize how prominent it was until they started filming. And I guess it was George Lucas and Jim Henson and people. They thought it was so funny that they kept it in. George Romero's Land of the Dead. Night of the Living Dead is probably the objective best. Personal favorite-wise, might be it for me. I don't know. I just like the larger scale. I like the fact that we kind of get a sense of the world better in this one. Could just be me, though. We got Last Days on Mars with this awesome slip here. Still need to watch this one with Liev Schreiber. The Last Dragon, fucking amazing film, martial arts film, upends a lot of, racial stereotypes of the time. Really, really good. I think it's fantastic. Great soundtrack, very 80s. Bruce Leroy and the Shogun of Harlem, excellent stuff. The Last Exorcism, the found footage one, and then the non-found footage, Last Exorcism Part 2. Seen this one, not seen this one, but I need to rewatch them both just to get the flavor of them again. The Last Samurai, one of my favorite films of all time. Basically Dances with Wolves, but in a different country, and I think actually done better. One of my favorite scores in any film by far. Tom Cruise normally doesn't really fit into period films all that well, except I think he really, really does here. Just, I can't say enough good things about it. This was my favorite film of all time when I was however old I was, 11, 12 when this came out. I saw it and I absolutely loved it. Got Last Tango in Paris, which is very controversial for its time. This is the uncut version. This needs a Criterion Collection release. I think it's a Bernardo Bertolucci film. It's gotten a lot of posthumous infamy because of the butter scene and everything and what all went into it. I still absolutely adore the film. I think it's one of the best films ever made about human relationships and how they can descend into like carnality and destruction and everything. Highly recommend it. Needs a Criterion release. Speaking of Criterion, my second favorite third favorite Scorsese film of all time, The Last Temptation of Christ. Super, super, super controversial film. Resulted in like all kinds of bannings and protests and people attacking the screens, and someone from Campus Crusade for Christ wanted to buy every copy of the film so he could burn it. Like, that's how much this film made people angry. I think it's got to be one of the best films about Jesus ever made, even though it's not based on the Gospels. It deviates or adds or whatever, but in terms of like films about faith, about the weight of being the Messiah and having that weight on your shoulders while trying to relate to human beings and trying to have something resembling a normal life, I think that this hits the nail right on the head. And Martin Scorsese, like, clearly this is a labor of love. As I said before, a lot of my favorite Scorsese films are some of his not as celebrated ones. Las Vegas, still haven't watched this, but it's got a cool slip there from Entertainment One. Layer Cake, still haven't watched this, but I heard good things. Legally Blonde, the Shout Select one, absolutely love the first one. Second one is not great, but I haven't seen it in forever. Glad that it got the Shout Select treatment, though. Legend, my favorite Ridley Scott film, needs a Scream Factory release, I think. This is basically the Legend of Zelda movie that we still haven't gotten. In effect, like, it hits a lot of those boxes, or checks a lot of those boxes. Legend of the Black Scorpion with Ji Zhang. Got Les Miserables, which I remembered not liking, but this was my first exposure to the musical at all. Been meaning to rewatch it. Target exclusive version. So, yeah. This is a bootleg, but the Beatles' Let It Be, and this is it's like an extended cut of the film. You can definitely tell this is a bootleg because the video quality is pretty bad, and some of the things that are edited in are pretty clumsily edited in. Now, I know that the actual official release of this is going to come out finally on Blu-ray, remastered, alongside the Beatles' Get Back, the Peter Jackson documentary. And I get why the band didn't really want this out, because they badmouth Yoko Ono pretty bad, and you can see a lot of the dynamics that led to the breakup. But the whole point of Get Back is to try and show kind of the happier side of the story, these sessions that went on, because this film kind of shows the not so great side. So if indeed they don't back out of it like they did back in 2003, if they keep with it, then I'll be glad to get like the actual proper official version, because I would like to see the remastered picture quality, because the picture quality on this is pretty bad. But again, it's because it hasn't been officially released and they have to grab whatever sources they can. Letters from Juliet, why do I own this? Because certain somebody's looking mighty fine there. Liar Liar, one of my favorite comedies ever. The film that introduced me to Jim Carrey. Just can't say enough good things about it. The Lighthouse, directed by Robert Eggers, who did The Witch. Absolutely love this film. One of my favorite horror films of the 2010s. One of my favorite films of the 2010s. Black and white, 4x3, atmospheric, surreal, psychological. Willem Dafoe. Can't say enough good things about it. Lights Out with Teresa Palmer. Really good supernatural horror film. Does not have a slipcover, though. Limelight, the Charlie Chaplin film. Still need to watch this. Criterion Collection release. Little Miss Sunshine, really good, good comedy film, comedy drama. Definitely deserved that Oscar win for Best Original Screenplay. One of my favorite Disney Renaissance films, The Little Mermaid, with my personal favorite Disney princess. This is the Target exclusive version. That's 4K as well. The director's cut of Little Shop of Horrors, which I still need to watch the director's cut. I've seen the theatrical cut with the happy ending, but this one has the tragic ending from the original stage show. Live by Night, the Ben Affleck kind of neo-noir film, still need to watch this. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, still need to watch this. There's a lot in my collection I haven't watched, but that's okay. It's part of the fun. Lockout, with this cool Canadian slip, still need to watch it. Lolita, the super controversial Stanley Kubrick film from 1962, which is, it's kind of watered down from the book, but it was written. The script was written by the author Vladimir Nabokov, and then I guess unofficially Stanley Kubrick and James B. Harris, the producer, they had changed it around a bit, but it's still a great film. The book is darkly comical, but it's more about like an actual sexual predator, an actual pedophile, versus this is more like this kind of debonair professor who kind of tastes forbidden fruit with this underage girl, and kind of about the secrets that people hold inside, and it's in classical Stanley Kubrick fashion. It's about kind of how the person that this Humbert is, it's kind of the idea that the society around him is just as perverted and deviant as he is, and and that's a very classically Kubrickian kind of message. Really great film for what it is. The 1997 film with Jeremy Irons is a lot truer to the book, but they're both really good for what they do. This one's more about society in Stanley Kubrick's time because it's more modernized, whereas the 1997 one is a period piece in the 40s, and this one I think is meant to reflect society at the time in which the film was made, and that's why you see all these people that have all these like secret things going on, secret kind of perversions and things. The Longest Week, still need to watch it. Olivia Wilde, Jason Bateman, Canadian slipcover, I'm there. Looper, still need to watch it. Rian Johnson, who's now super controversial because of The Last Jedi, but this film kind of put him on the map. The Losers, still need to watch it again, but great looking Canadian exclusive slipcover, love it, and a non-superhero comic book adaptation. The Lost City of Z, or to be British about it, The Lost City of Zed. Still haven't watched it, but again, heard great things. Lou Simon's 3. This is a Horror Pack exclusive signed by her. This is by far and away her best film, I think. Definitely recommend you see this if you can get your hands on it. The DVD is easier to find, obviously. But yeah, highly recommend it. The Love Guru. Talk about a case study and how to completely destroy one's career. Definitely worth watching for that kind of case study purpose. And it's kind of a train wreck of a movie, but again, it's an interesting train wreck because it's Mike Myers doing his usual shtick, but doing it in all the wrong ways, such that his career never really recovered. And yeah, so definitely worth watching at least once, just as for a case study kind of purpose. The Lure, Criterion Collection about a mermaid. Never watched it yet, but I will. M, Fritz Lang's masterpiece, and I think the first film ever made about a serial killer, let alone a child killer, in 1931, with adult language in German, but still with English subtitles, that never would have flown in America at the time. Really disturbing film, amazing film, one of the best films ever made. Just can't say enough good things about it. Peter Lorre's performance, like, you can see why he became a star in the English-speaking world. Roman Polanski's Macbeth, really great adaptation of the play that you can't say the name of it if you're in a theater because it's cursed. And then the Michael Fassbender Macbeth with the Zavvi exclusive steelbook. Still need to watch this one. Been wanting to see it for quite a long time. Glad to have it with the steelbook. And then we got the Mad Max films. We got the Scream Factory of Mad Max, the first one. Kino Lorber is putting out a 4K of this film, and so I'll probably be selling this one and getting that 4K with the slip. But that's a cool design nonetheless. Probably my least favorite of the series, actually, even though it's a very good film for what it is. The Road Warrior, my second favorite of the whole series. This needs a 4K, don't you think? Same with this one. The Beyond Thunderdome, which a lot of people don't like it. I quite enjoyed it. Yeah, it's not R-rated, and yes, it's a little bit more kid-friendly, but not that much more. The actual Thunderdome itself is really cool, and Tina Turner is a great villain in this. She has good chemistry with Mel Gibson. And my favorite of the Mad Max films, Mad Max Fury Road, which, not exactly a uncommon opinion there, but this particular edition is a South Korean edition. This was not cheap, but it was worth it because it's got the 4K of the theatrical version, and it's got black and chrome edition with that cool lenticular front and back cover, steelbook on the inside, lots of cool extras. I did an unboxing of this, and you can check it out. Magnolia, one of Paul Thomas Anderson's best films, super ambitious, 3 hours long, a massive cast, a really what the fuck ending, but that's, you either love it or you hate it. It took me by surprise at first, but I thematically understood what it was all about because of how well it was set up in the beginning. Highly recommend it. Needs a Criterion release. And then we got The Man Who Fell to Earth. This is the UK box set. Really fantastic David Bowie sci-fi film directed by Nicholas Roeg, and heavily influenced by David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust persona, even though the story that this is based off of, or novel or whatever, I can't remember which, it predated Ziggy Stardust, but that's alright. Then we got the Man with No Name trilogy. We got Fistful of Dollars, and these are all the Kino Lorber editions, for a few dollars more. And what's that? The Deadpool slip for The Good, Bad, and the Ugly over the Kino Lorber edition. Look at that. Yeah, these are these iconic spaghetti westerns, of course. Sergio Leone, gotta own those. Need to get more westerns in my collection. It's a tragically underrepresented genre. Maniac in 4K, very, very, very controversial 80s slasher film with Joe Spinell as the killer. You may remember him from Rocky and from the last horror film and from Taxi Driver. And we got Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. Absolutely loved what Elizabeth Olsen did in this film. Really chilling film about cults and how hard they are to escape, and how much it sticks, what they do to people, how much it sticks with them even if they do manage to escape. So they're never really free. The Martian with the Deadpool slip, and what's that? The extended edition 4K. Look at that. Still need to watch this film. And then we got, this is really out of print right now, the Marvel animated collection here with the 8 films that Lionsgate put out. These direct-to-video animated films with the slipcover. Really hard to find now. Got it for a fairly reasonable price. And then we got Matinee, which I've not watched this yet. This is the Arrow version, UK exclusive with John Goodman. Heard really good things about it, that he's kind of like Roger Corman meets like William Castle, as far as like creating like films about giant bugs and things like that. MASH. Why doesn't this have a Criterion Collection release? It needs one badly. Super iconic cinematic comedy gave rise to an even more iconic TV show. first, big studio movie to say fuck. Yeah, just really, really great film. Highly recommend it. Um, Super depressing theme. Suicide's painless. Fantastic. Just love it, love it, love it. The Master, one of Paul Thomas Anderson's best films by far and away, I think. Criminally underrated, criminally misunderstood, not given enough praise, I don't think. Um, and praised in some circles, but just not enough of them, because it really is that good. Some of the best acting I've seen in a recent film. And we got the Matrix films. The Matrix 1, these are all the Best Buy exclusive 4K slips. Matrix 1, Matrix Reloaded, and Matrix Revolutions. People hate the latter two sequels. I quite like them for what they are. I think they expand the mythology quite a lot. I really love the scene with the architect in Reloaded, which a lot of people either love or hate. Mostly hate. I quite liked it. I personally love the fact that it kind of, again, a lot of people hate the fact that Neo wasn't the only one, that he was the sixth one. Spoiler alert. But I personally like that because, I personally I don't like Chosen One prophecy stories because it purports someone to be important without them having actually done anything important. It's just they're important because the script says they are. But I like that he wasn't the only one, but his, essence, his consciousness, whatever you want to say, kind of reincarnation almost, that it was the sixth iteration of the one program, the remainder. And but what makes him special is that he made some different decisions from what the other ones had done, and so he was able to do what they couldn't, and so he still is kind of special, but again, he has to do something as opposed to just being handed that special status on a silver platter. And then, of course, the Animatrix. This is a Japan exclusive. Well, not exclusive, but it's the standalone release of it is from Japan. You pretty much can't. It's really hard to find the Animatrix as a standalone release, but I did, and glad to have it. Maverick with Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster there. I think they met as a result of this film, and it's a good, fun kind of Western comedy. Meatballs, Ivan Reitman film that this made Bill Murray a star with that cool VHS cover there. The Meg, which is not about Meg from Family Guy, it's about a megalodon. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this. I really did. It's basically like if you took an asylum film about a shark, but you kind of blew up the budget to enormous heights, but it's not even like cheese-tastic. Like, it actually is pretty effective at what it tries to be and has some surprisingly really good characters and clever writing. And speaking of Asylum, which this isn't the Asylum, these are just other random kind of indie shark exploitation films. The Meg Shark collection. This is really out of print now for some reason. I don't know why. It's got 8 films on it. And this one copy popped up on Amazon for like 40-something bucks. Normally it goes for like $200 or something, and it's unreal. The DVDs of this are still in print, but the Blu-ray, for whatever reason, is out of print, and it's really hard to find now. So glad I snagged it up while I still could. Love sharksploitation films. Melancholia, one of the best films ever made about depression. Kirsten Dunst gives the performance of a lifetime in this. Love her in this, and love Lars von Trier. Got the Men in Black collection there with the new one, which I've only ever seen the first one, but I wanted to get him back in the collection, and this is a Canadian exclusive version. We got The Men Who Stare at Goats, which I remembered seeing in the theater, and I loved it up until the last third of the film, and then I felt like it kind of fell apart, but I need to watch it again. I haven't seen it since theaters. And we got one of my favorite films of all time, Midnight Cowboy, finally on Criterion Collection. I'm walking here. Everybody's obliged to do that line. Midnight Movie, very underrated slasher film from 2008. I'd love to, if they put the uncut version on physical media. Misery, Shout Factory, Scream Factory. Love, love, love this movie. Fantastic Rob Reiner film. Kathy Bates killed it in that film. Um, the Miscongeniality series. Love the first one. The second one's Modern Times, one of my favorite Charlie Chaplin films by far. Amazing, amazing film. Mom and Dad, which I still need to watch. I love Nicolas Cage and I love Selma Blair. I feel really bad that she's suffering from whatever that is. Is it cerebral palsy? I feel really bad about that. Monsieur Verdoux, Charlie Chaplin's most underrated film, and by far and away his darkest film. Like, this is a really dark film, but it's quite funny in a dark way. It's all about murder. We got Monster Calls, which I've heard great things about. I got this back in the collection, Monty Python, the Holy Grail. I was hoping for like a super duper special edition, or like a Criterion or a 4K or a something. This is mastered in 4K, but yeah, no word on a super duper special edition or something. But masterpiece of comedy. What more can I say that hasn't already been said? Mother's Day, the remake, signed by Lloyd, because he has a cameo in it. I used to have the original in the collection, need to get it back. Moulin Rouge, Baz Luhrmann's film that kind of reinvented the movie musical for a new generation. Joss Whedon's adaptation of Much Ado About Nothing. I saw this in the theater. I love that it's in black and white. It's kind of a, Federico Fellini 8.5 kind of homage. David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, fantastic film. I love David Lynch to death. Mulan, can't wait to see the live action one. I'm not paying $30 though, but I'll wait for it to come out on Disney Plus proper. But yeah, love Mulan, always have. One of my favorite Disney protagonists by far. The Mummy, the classic series, the Universal series. I love The Mummy. I have a beautiful Mummy poster in my apartment now. The Muppet Movie, the best Muppet movie by far. The Muppets Take Manhattan, my least favorite Muppet movie. I don't know why, I just can't really get into it. The custom cover here of Muppet Treasure Island, the beautiful theatrical poster there. And it's actually a 2-pack. It has the Great Muppet Caper in here as well. But I just love that custom cover. I had to do it. Muppets from Space, I remember seeing this in the theater, and I loved it when I was a kid. I still love it. I don't know why this movie gets so much hate. I saw this in the theater too, The Muppets, the 2011 one. I was blown away by this movie. I felt like it it excited me again about the Muppets, and I felt like after whatever that was, 11, 12 years, something like that, since Muppets from Space, like this was like a welcome home for the Muppets. I was so excited for what Disney was going to do next, and then this film came out, and my dreams were dashed. Not to say it was bad, it was just so mediocre that I was just like, why? You had like a fucking masterpiece on your hands. And then we got My Cousin Vinny with the Blu-ray slip, the Deadpool slip there. Marissa Tomei won Best Supporting Actress for this film. She was so hot in her day, and guess what? She's still super hot today. And a really talented actress. Natural Born Killers and True Romance. This is very out of print now because of the Morgan Creek situation we talked about before. True Romance, it's okay. Like, it's not my favorite film ever. I think it's got a lot of creepy undertones. It was one of Quentin Tarantino's first scripts. Tony Scott directed it, but it's just got a lot of kind of creepy insights into the way that at the time, his young brain must have worked, as far as like, I don't know, it's very indulgent, it's very kind of weird power fantasy, like, I don't know, it doesn't click with me. But I love, love, love Natural Born Killers. By far and away my favorite Oliver Stone film. I don't think that the script. I haven't read the Tarantino script. I'm not sure that if that had been filmed, that it would have been. It wouldn't have been what it is. But I just can't say enough good things about how much I love Natural Born Killers that we did get. Necromantic 1 and Necromantic 2, because that's what you want in your collection. 2 films about necrophilia from Arrow. Great things to show to the kids. And then we got Nerve, which I've not watched yet, but I will. Gotta get more for you people. Why are you putting me through such torture? My back's killing me. I can barely sleep. I can barely stay awake. My brain is seeing unicorns. My fog is eyeing up. What's wrong with me? Are you all alive? Some of you probably have babies by now. Let's keep going. I made you a promise, and I'm gonna fulfill it. Network, the Arrow Academy release. I love this film, in my top 10 favorite films of all time. What a prophetic film this was. Can't say enough good things about it. Some of the best acting you will ever see in any film. The Nice Guys, the Shane Black film, that did not get quite the box office gross that they wanted, but it did get quite a devoted following and, praise and everything. We got Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. Still need to watch this. I like Kat Dennings. Night of the Hunter, one of my favorite films ever. It's a really creepy film, influenced by German Expressionism. Charles Laughton directed. Robert Mitchum gives an incredibly creepy, chilling performance. Highly recommend it. The Night Porter. Still need to finish this film, but it's a very controversial Nazi/BDSM kind of influence film, and still need to finish it. What I've seen of it, I absolutely love, so I'll keep going with it. But again, not for everyone. The Night Beast. Vinegar Syndrome with the Slip. Not my favorite sci-fi film, but the score was actually composed by J.J. Abrams. Yes, that J.J. Abrams. We got The Nightmare Before Christmas in 3D. I am surprised that a 4K hasn't come out yet, but it probably will. Absolutely amazing film. Not directed by Tim Burton, directed by Henry Selick, who later went on to do Coraline, but Tim Burton was very heavily involved in the producing of the film, and he came up with the story and everything. The region-free Nightmare on Elm Street set, which is ridiculously huge. The normal Region 1 version of it is not this big. This is needlessly huge. Everybody keeps clamoring for a Scream Factory of these films, and I would agree. This set will do for now, but yeah, this is a little bigger than it needs to be. But then I got the lenticular slipcover of the remake with Jackie Earle Haley, which I've not watched yet and heard not so great things. The Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp, another Roman Polanski kind of late period film, because for quite a long time he got to keep making films, and nobody batted an eye, despite all the it's just, again, hypocrisy. Gotta love it. No Country for Old Men with this amazing Canadian exclusive slip. That's normally what it looks like, but look how cool that is. I think that's so great. I love it. Coen Brothers Best Picture winning film. Really, really bleak, really disturbing in many ways, but one of their best, definitely. Noah, the Best Buy exclusive Steelbook of Noah, one of my favorite Darren Aronofsky films. Everyone hates this film except for me. I would recommend it personally. I think it got me thinking about the Noah story and what all it meant. It got me thinking about it because whenever, if you've ever been to Sunday school or whatever, they always teach you like this really sanitized version of the story. This film extracts every possible degree of meaning and significance from that story and then some. And it just, again, it makes you think about this story that most people they don't even question. But this film is all about questioning. Nocturnal Animals, still need to watch it. I love Amy Adams. One of the best actresses working today. Non-Stop with Liam Neeson, still need to watch it. Nosferatu, one of the best horror films ever made. One of the earliest vampire films ever made. Can't say enough good things about it. German Expressionism, just absolutely perfect. Observe and Report, a film that did not really get appreciated for what it was. It's a much darker film than it appears. It's in the same vein as something like Taxi Driver, to be honest. Even if it may not look it, it looks like a stupid, kind of like stoner comedy or something, but it's actually pretty disturbing, I think, and I appreciated it for that reason. Seth Rogen, again, he's got that kind of stoner reputation, all that stuff, but I think he can play, Disturbed very well. Oculus, one of my favorite supernatural horror films of the 2010s, and what's that? Autographed by Karen Gillan, my girl. Absolutely love her. Does a great job in this film. And this was Mike Flanagan, who would go on to do Ouija, Origin of Evil, and then Dr. Sleep. And then we got Office Space, but it's not just Office Space with the Deadpool slip. It's Dodgeball, Napoleon Dynamite, and Office Space. I love Napoleon Dynamite. Can't say enough good things about it. Office Space, need a rewatch, and I haven't watched Dodgeball yet. One of my favorite films of all time, On the Waterfront, which they're talking about getting this a 4K, I think, which is pretty cool. It was in that Columbia poll, I remember, but I got a Criterion of it. Marlon Brando won Best Actor for this film, and very, very well deserved. You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it. You gotta get the lower jaw. That's how you get the Marlon Brando voice, at least from that period. 1 Hour Photo, rest in peace, Robin Williams. One of his best films by far. He could, again, this is in the same vein as something like Taxi Driver. Highly recommend this film. Very unsettling, but in a great way. I could, I can relate to this character and to characters like that who are lonely and they just want connection with people. Which I have the advantage of talking to all of you, so, I don't seem quite as schizophrenic. Only God Forgives with Ryan Gosling. Super cool Canadian slip there. Still need to watch it. Nicholas Winding Refn. Retaming with him. Orgasmo, signed by Lloyd Kaufman, who has a cameo at the end. Trey Parker and Matt Stone's second film after Cannibal the Musical. And this was quite an interesting film in the sense that they were shooting for an R rating, but it ended up getting an NC-17 because of the fact that it, is about porn. And, all that stuff, even though it's not anywhere near as explicit as other R-rated films, and it's kind of been a subject of, I've not seen that documentary. This film is not yet rated, but apparently the rating of this film plays a big role in that documentary with just the inconsistency and kind of bullshit aspects of the MPAA, and Lloyd can tell you all about that. Ouija and Ouija Origin of Evil. Ouija is not really good. Ouija Origin of Evil is great. Definitely recommend it. Out of the Furnace, still need to watch it. Great Canadian slip there. Great cast in this too. Over Your Dead Body from the director of Audition. By far and away Michael Bay's best film, Pain and Gain, without a doubt. Absolutely fucking love this movie. Really funny, satirical, dark comedy, so quotable. When you give Michael Bay a smaller budget, I think he can really surprise you with how much he can innovate and, do some cool things with the camera, and just, experimented with GoPros and with just all the different tricks of the trade in this film, and I'd recommend it, to be honest with you. I think it's wonderful. And then we got Paper Towns, which I have yet to watch. That's the Canadian slip of that. I love Cara Delevingne. The Paranormal Activity films, I still haven't watched the very last one. Because I guess they're making another one. Why? But yeah, this is a great found footage series. My favorite is the second one. Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. One of, if not, talk about a contender for most controversial film. Certainly in my lifetime, by far and away the most controversial film that I've seen released. But again, for what it is, for what he was going for, I think it accomplishes everything it sets out to be. And Mel Gibson is a master of film visuals. The score is really haunting. It's extremely violent. Really puts you in that mindset of someone that was willing to endure the worst possible torture and suffering imaginable for the sake of the world and all human beings, past, present, and future. And it is what it is. It says a triumphant and uncompromising filmmaking achievement. It absolutely is that. Love it or hate it, it's his vision through and through, and I respect that. Paths of Glory, another uncompromising director, Stanley Kubrick. This was like his first real masterpiece, and it's one of the best anti-war films I've ever seen. Kirk Douglas kills it in this film. Just can't say enough good things about it. The Peanuts Holiday Collection in 4K. Essential watches every Thanksgiving, Halloween, and Christmas season. Perfect Getaway. Still need to watch it. The People Under the Stairs, the Arrow release of that. Look how cool that is. I love the cover of this a lot more than the Scream Factory release. This was actually in that Columbia Pictures poll that I mentioned, People vs. Larry Flint. Highly recommend this film. Criminally underrated. I was just saying it needed a Criterion, but if it gets a 4K, even better. Highly, highly recommend this film. Milos Forman, one of my favorites, Woody Harrelson. Great film about something that I think people don't think about much today, or even when this film was made or when it's set. People don't think about the differences between what someone has the right to do versus what you personally like. And so it says, I think that it's the tagline for this film. It doesn't say it on here, but I remembered it was, "You may not like what he does, but will you defend his right to do it?" And again, I think people don't really think about that. They want their subjective feelings to dictate policy as opposed to what is objectively right or fair or anything like that. And especially these days where we conflate subjectivity with objectivity more than we ever have, as far as I can tell, something like this I think is essential for people to watch and to keep in mind, because there's a big difference between what someone has the right to do versus what we personally like. And that's a little rant there for you. Perfect Blue, that is a Satoshi Kon film. Basically, this was Black Swan before Black Swan, and I think better, honestly. So glad that Shout Factory put this out. Such a great film. I need to get more anime in my collection. Peter Pan, one of the best Disney films from the 50s. It's very funny in a slapstick kind of way. P.D. Wheatstraw, the fourth of those Rudy Ray Moore films that I mentioned. Phantom of the Opera, 1925, one of the best horror films ever made, one of the best films of its time by far, an absolute staple of the silent film era. Phantom of the Opera, 1943. This one was released by Universal, but it's public domain now, so they don't really bother with putting it out. This is put out by Kino, and you can find it like anywhere for free. This one Universal does put out. They still own the rights to this one. It's not as good as that one, but it's still quite good for what it is. It's more of, I think, kind of a musical melodrama than it is really a horror film in the truest sense, at least to me. Now, speaking of musical melodrama, but like a full-blown musical proper, the 2004 adaptation of the stage musical by Andrew Lloyd Webber. Saw this in the theater, and it was my first introduction to the musical Phantom of the Opera. And people of my generation really love this movie, and I do too. I think it very faithfully recreates the stage show. The version I saw on the stage later, it was the touring version, and it was not as spectacular as it probably was in those early performances that everyone fell in love with back in the 80s. But, that's a really good way to get introduced to the musical, I think. We got Pieces, the very controversial, notorious slasher film by Juan Piquer Simon, if I recall. I think that's it. Yeah, Juan Piquer Simon. Pinocchio, by far and away one of the most disturbing Disney films ever. Just absolutely fucked up imagery. But classic in its own right. Piranha, the 1978 Joe Dante directorial debut, if I recall. Beautiful steelbook put out by Scream Factory. Love this film. And I really love the 2010 remake with this beauty, whose name I can never remember. I'll put it in the bottom there. Absolutely love her. Love this movie. Very self-aware, very just amusing, very just fun. Very aware of its own gratuitousness, and it's great. Canadian exclusive slipcover there. Really hard to find and expensive now. And this is the Canadian 3 Double D sequel there, which a lot of people really hated this for some reason. I didn't. I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't as good as the first one, but I liked it for what it was. I mean, come on, it's got piranhas and boobs and blood, and it's everything you want in that kind of film. So it meets all the criteria there. So The Pirates, Band of Misfits, which was released in the UK as Pirates in an Adventure with Scientists, but, because this is the United States and we don't like to learn anything, had to change that title real quick. Really great film, though. I love Aardman Animation. Think that they do amazing work. And then we've got some more P's for you. The Place Beyond the Pines there with Ryan Gosling and Bradley Cooper. Have not watched that film yet, but I've heard good things. Just gonna scooch those along there. There you go. We have Plan 9 from Outer Space, the worst film ever made, and I put that in quotation marks because I don't think it is at all the worst film ever made. It's too entertaining. It's too iconic. It's too, it's just great for what it is. It's Ed Wood, love him or hate him, he made his films the way he wanted to make them, despite the budget, despite the limitations. He just did it, man. I think he's an inspiration, to be honest. And he was very ahead of his time in a lot of ways. The original Planet of the Apes series, one of my favorite sci-fi series, one of my favorite series from when I was a kid as well. The Tim Burton remake with Mark Wahlberg, which I have not watched yet. Heard not good things. Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I thought this was going to be horrible, but then I saw it and I was like, damn, that was really good. And it was. Now, the CGI on... the motion capture was good, but the actual CGI on the apes themselves was not what it would eventually become with Dawn of Planet of the Apes, which was a better sequel. One thing I would say with this one, I did quite like it, and I liked it more than the first one. I did ask myself at the time, I was like, where's this going? I didn't know if they had an end game in mind or if they were just making sequels indefinitely. But I appreciate this film even more now because I know what the end game was, and that was war for the Planet of the Apes with that Deadpool slip. But it's the 4K, because look at that. This is one of the few series, the rebooted series anyway, one of the few series that I think got better with each installment, and this was by far the best one of the reboot series. Again, saying a lot because that was a great series, but I think War for the Planet of the Apes, man, I was so impressed with how good that ended up being. Probably one of the best finales to a trilogy. Don't make any more, please. Not for a good long time. Let it percolate. Let interest percolate. Maybe do a TV series. Put it on Disney Plus. Who knows? Just don't do any more in that continuity. Just let that be what it is. Preserve its virginity, please. Planet Terror, autographed by Tom Savini, who has a little cameo in the film. Rose McGowan. Um, One of my favorite Robert Rodriguez films, by far the better half of Grindhouse. I do have Death Proof separately, and I'll get to it in a minute. Um, Absolutely love this film, one of my favorites of his. Just super fun, great zombie film. Really explicitly grindhousey. The Player, Robert Altman, Hollywood satire, probably one of the most biting satires of Hollywood and just like the superficiality of it, and how a searing drama idea can kind of get processed into like a more conventional film, because that's what happens. And then Pocahontas, which this is another film that I'm like, well, is this one gonna be decided retroactively that it's problematic or whatever? Maybe, I don't know. I saw this when I was a kid, really dug it. Is it historically accurate? No, not at all. Pretty damn far from it, in fact. But again, for just a movie, like I enjoyed it quite a lot. I know that it was based on more so the legends surrounding her. But yeah, but if she were a real person, then John Smith would have to be a lot older. She'd have to be a lot younger, and they wouldn't be in love. Um, but anyway, we got Poltergeist, the original. This film scared the shit out of me, and I saw this when I was 12 years old. Freaked me the fuck out, man. I couldn't go down in the basement without hearing, "Mommy," in that, kind of coming from far away voice. It just scared the shit out of me, and the tearing of the face scene, I was like, ugh. Poltergeist 2, the super out of print Scream Factory with the slip, and Poltergeist 3, super out of print with the slip. Still need to watch these two, but I'm glad to have them because they're really out of print now, obviously. And then, of course, the remake in 3D with the lenticular slip. I did not want to see this when it came out because I was just pissed that it got remade, and I'm not normally one to get all like fanboy kind of entitled or whatever, which can they remake it? Sure, it's their right, whatever. The original still exists. Still haven't watched this. I'm kind of over the whole, but largely because it pretty much got forgotten about, and I'm kind of over the fact that it got remade, but still, it's in the series, so gotta own it. And then we got The Possession, very, very, very underrated possession film about a Dybbuk box. So it's Jewish, ideas of possession instead of Roman Catholic ones. And then one of my favorite trauma films, Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, autographed by Lloyd Kaufman. Absolutely insane film. Super gory, super, disgusting. It'll make you never want to eat fast food again, which I never have, so it doesn't affect me. But highly, highly recommended if you like comedies and zombies and musicals and satires and craziness and violence and boobies and all the things that make life worth living. Precious, which I remembered seeing in the theater, quite enjoyed it. I have not seen it since theaters, but I'm glad to have it back in the collection. The first three Predators on 4K. This was not cheap, and I guess because it went out of print because of the Disney 20th Century Fox acquisition. And then, what's that? The Deadpool slip, but over the Predator. Well, try to put it over the other one, but it wouldn't fit, so this is the best I could do. But have not watched The Predator, but I've heard really bad things. The Prestige, which the slipcover for this is ridiculously expensive, and I've not been able to find it. And the movie itself on 4K at all is really expensive as well, so for whatever reason. But I'm really glad to have it. One of my favorite Christopher Nolan films, very underrated. Although I do find it's like, oh, gee whiz, in, 1800s England, I just happened to find someone that looked exactly like me. Yeah, right. The twins I could buy, but like just the whole the body double thing, I was like, oh, fuck off. But really, really good film nonetheless. Prejudice, and Zombies. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I like this film. It's not like great necessarily, but they didn't lose the Pride and Prejudice aspects of it despite the zombies, which is good because I was afraid it would be like Pride and Prejudice in name only, and luckily it isn't. This 2-pack here of Priest and Legion. Still gotta watch those. Priest is an adaptation of a South Korean comic, if I recall. Primal with Nicolas Cage. I really dug this film. The CGI animals are not that good looking, but I can see why they were CGI because they do some like killing of animals and stuff, and you don't want a cannibal holocaust situation on your hands. I can definitely tell you that. We got this Prince 3-pack here, rest in peace Prince, with Purple Rain, Under the Cherry Moon, and Graffiti Bridge. And what's that? The case is purple. Look at that. I love it. I've only seen Purple Rain, but I love Purple Rain, and I love Prince in general. So sad that he died. He was an inspiration for so many people. Prince of Darkness, the 4K slip, with the Studio Canal 4K edition. And we got in this UK exclusive, the producers on Scream Factory. You could not make this film today, which is, again, very sad. This is another one that's probably going to get the old disclaimer treatment, even though, again, very obviously a comedy, very obviously, poking fun at Nazism and things like that. I think one of the funniest films ever. Springtime for Hitler is absolutely hysterical song. Yeah, it's just, again, a shame that we've forgotten what humor is and satire and all these things that make us, use our brains. Project X, people really hated this movie. I liked it because it showed what, douchebags a lot of people in a lot of mainstream comedies are. And, I like the fact that it was a found footage comedy and it was doing things that other found footage films hadn't done and still haven't really done since then. My favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film and my favorite Adam Sandler film by far. Punch Drunk Love. I relate to this movie so much. The protagonist reminds me a lot of myself in many ways. I can't say enough good things about it. You've got to see it if you've never seen it. The first 3 Purge films, which I got up to election year, but I never finished it, and I will. And I need to get the first Purge, and I need to get the series as well. The remake of Pusher, which the original trilogy was Nicholas Winding Refn's, break into filmmaking. We got The Queen, with that awesome slipcover there, that's Canadian exclusive there. Saw this, I think, in the theater at the time, and it was good. I didn't love it necessarily, but I haven't seen it since theaters, and I did think Helen Mirren deserved her Oscar, though. She did a great job. Quentin Tarantino's set here, with everything he's ever done up to Django Unchained, so it doesn't include The Hateful Eight or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I have those separately, but yeah, the problem, like, I love that they're all separate and everything, but look at this. The cardboard is so thin. This box is kind of fucked up. This thing is going to fall apart in like 2 seconds if I'm not careful with it, so that's kind of sucky, but, it's what happens. But I'm just glad to have them all in the collection.